So it was announced last night that the Colorado Supreme Court removed Donald Trump from their primary ballots. And MSNBC, as you could imagine, was good times over at MSNBC. And who did they have to call to get their opinion? Well, they had to give Rachel Maddow a call. Rachel was off that night. She wasn't on. But how could they not go to Rachel Maddow to help break this news? So here's Rachel Maddow on the phone with MSNBC giving her take on the
if you
developments.
listen closely, you can hear me and Jose in the background.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
We're all just trying to absorb this. Listen, I think in the broad strokes, in terms of our democracy, there are very few magic wands. there are very few sort of magic spells that you cast that make a complex and difficult problem go away. It just doesn't happen very often in our political system, and I think that we shouldn't be under any illusions about the character and the partisan inclinations, among other things, of this current Supreme Court as it is constituted.
Oh,
that said,
I thought, it's funny. There are no magic wands, and I don't think we should be blind to the partisan nature of. I thought she was actually going to say for a second there the partisan nature of the ruling, of the decision to take him off the ballot. No, we shouldn't be blind to the partisan nature of the Supreme Court. Meaning, hey, what if the highest court in the country actually strikes this down? At that point, that would clear the path for Donald Trump to be on the ballot in all 50 states. But she says, no, don't forget. This is the Trump Supreme Court, and they might step in and block this.
Yeah. This is not a crazy thing for a democracy to do. This is something that was a hallmark of post-war Germany after World War II. This is something that happened to Jair Bolsonaro in Brazil quite recently. This is something that our own Congress did in 1868 after our own Civil War, specifically to preclude anybody from holding office in this country who had engaged in insurrection against this country. And
okay, the two examples that she just cited there. Well, the Jair Bolsonaro example has a little asterisk because he's barred from running for office until 2030. It's not a lifetime ban. And I don't even agree with that. But that's a temporary ban. Sort of a timeout, an insurrection timeout,
also,
if you will. Because they had a thing in Brazil,
roads...
too. They had their own January 6th type thing happen there. That's why they suspended Bolsonaro's ability to run for now, 6 more years?
And all roads lead to Nazi Germany. Because, this is... the aftermath of the Trump presidency is exactly like post-war Germany.
Or post-Civil War America.
Comparison.
That's the other point.
Or post-Civil War America. It's just like that. Right. It's just like that. For liberal wine moms, it may feel like that, but it's not like that.
Exactly. Look at the parallel she's drawing. She's saying, well, they did this in post-war Germany and in post-Civil War America.
Right.
So wasn't January 6th just as bad as the Civil War and the Holocaust?
Well, they talk about it that way. They've compared it to 9/11, which is just absolutely deranged.
Yeah.
This is why I've pulled my arts article back out of the digital draw. That'll be coming out next week. Yeah, man. I mean, talking to artists the other night, it's all, we got to vote for Biden. Trump is an existential threat. Yeah. In the end, the arc of the universe bends towards justice, and they're making good incremental change, and their hearts are in the right place. It's weird, man, because if you're watching this show, chances are people who think like that avoid you at this point, and you avoid them at this point. It's not very often I get to hear people who think that way anymore, because it really is a vanishing minority. But Rachel Maddow is their queen. She is the queen of their worldview, and that's their worldview. And it was funny. This was kind of like what I experienced when I was in San Francisco. This is a room full of MSNBC libs, which is tragic, which is why I'm going to drop my arts article. That's tragic to have an arts community like that. But nobody really wanted to talk even about Palestine and Israel. Like, that didn't even, nobody, it was you could tell that was a very uncomfortable subject. I was in San Francisco after 9/11. And it was the same thing that nobody wanted to talk about the invasion of Afghanistan, because the same people who would be likely to protest the invasion of Afghanistan had the week before or the year before, the month before, been marching around with signs about the Taliban's treatment of women. So it's what I call the Kirk versus the computer scenario. There were all these. It was a trope on Star Trek that Kirk would beat a computer by giving it contradictory logic commands, and it would wind up blowing up trying to reconcile them. That's what that is for the liberal mind. They do not know how to deal with the Israel thing because the establishment clearly is for it, but then they're supposed to be against colonization, and so it was interesting to see them in the wild. Like, how do they handle that? They just don't talk about it.
Well, at that point, the whole Biden lesser evil argument kind of goes out the window too, right?
Right.
Not to say Trump is better, but in practice, they're equal.
Oh, when I said that, like, their heads were going to explode. I said, what's the difference for most people whether Trump or Biden is president?
Oh, yeah, you actually brought that up. Wow.
I said that. Well, because they kept saying, so are you for Trump? I was like, no, I'm post-duopoly, man. I'm not for either of them. Well, aren't things better under Biden? No.
What do you mean, aren't things better under Biden?
That's what they said. And I said at one point, I mean, I said what one guy said, he literally said to me, I said, well, if the Democrats are doing such a great job, why is Donald Trump winning? And God, I've been hearing this from Democrats forever. Bad messaging.
Well, this is the thing. I'm glad you mentioned that because I almost forgot to mention this.
Let me just finish before you segue. I'll give it to you. And that guy goes, well, those coal miners in Pennsylvania, they're going to. And I said, right. Okay, so when a Republican wins and you're running around asking why, I want you to look in a mirror, because people who speak like that have no right to ask why most people in the country don't want to vote for them. And no working class person would say something like that. He goes, I'm working class. I'm like, what do you do? He's a fucking technical director. Like, that's not working. For anyone who doesn't know, that's a person who runs the Techno Theater. That is not working class, but that explains everything. If that's your idea of working class, well, that's how you come out making fun of coal miners.
Yeah, and underlying all of this is the fact that Trump is winning in the polls. And if the Trump presidency were as traumatic as Rachel Maddow says, as the Civil War or as the Nazi Holocaust, then why the fuck is he winning? Like, that's the question they just can't answer.
Well,
why is he winning? Why can't you just beat him? Like, why
messaging.
Is this such a problem for you?
It's messaging.
That you have to resort to taking him off of the ballot now.
Right. Yeah, no, it's all, dude, I've been hearing this my whole life. The Democrats only win because they don't message well. It's that whole, I mean, I don't know if you were ever as libby as I was, but I remember that shit, like thinking like that. It's this, yeah, man, it's just they're too well. And this is where it gets very inherently condescending. The underlying assumption that the messaging is bad is that the average person is too stupid and the Democrats are too smart.
Well, of course, right.
The way that they speak is too intelligent, and they need to know how to translate to the troglodytes that they're actually have it made with the Democrats.
Well, that's why they loved Bill Clinton so much, because he did both. He satisfied their sense of how smart they were while at the same time packaging those ideas in ways that actually won elections at the time.
Please clap.